Peace and welcome to Rhymecology, breaking down the bars. Today I'm joined by your favorite rapper's favorite rapper.
Very contagious rap should be trapped in cages through stages of whackness, fouls, raps ablaze, and then it amazes.
A man who's changed the way people deliver, changed the way people look at cadence.
New York City gritty committee, pity the fool that act shitty in the midst of the calm, the witty.
The man who made your favorite MC smash their fist on their head in disbelief because they didn't think they could compete.
Clap, clap on, clap off, clap at him and not mean applause.
Pharoahe Monch.
That was pretty ill. Thank you, bro. What's good, man?
What's good? What's good? For those of you tuning in, today we're going to be looking at PTSD. We are looking at the 10-year reunion of this incredible album, and I'm here to shine some light on it lyrically, technically, and emotionally and conceptually. Pharoahe delivers a work of art which can be studied in 2014, 2024, 2034, and much more. This ranks in the great all-time concept albums. It is now hitting its 10-year anniversary, being released on April 15th. And with that added knowledge and insight, it is my hope that you watching this will revisit this album with the knowledge that you're going to get from Pharoahe Monch himself. With that, we delve into PTSD. The concept. After you finished War, did you decide that you wanted to kind of method rap, as we call it, create a character of a veteran coming home from war? Or were you just kind of writing bars and writing songs, and then it kind of came to you after, like, hey, I could maybe do this as a follow-up? What was the concept like following up War?
Exactly. The acronym "We Are Renegades" was an idea to call the album War. We were starting a new company. Me and my manager called We Are Renegades, and I figured I'd call the album War. But not in the technical sense, in the sense that, war with yourself, war within yourself, or war with the internal and the external, and society, and the man, and government, and all these things we battle from day to day in our everyday lives. And so coming off that album, just to put it into context, the album did really well. I had been with labels my whole career. It was kind of my first time. War was kind of my first time being independent in terms of working in conjunction with Duck Down and them teaching us a bit of the ropes of the real independent movement. We just felt it was a beautiful marriage because they had been doing it so long. And I think they get overlooked in terms of independent labels, and type of the things that the masterpieces that they've done over the years in hip hop and underground hip hop, if you will. So the album was very successful with the song Still Standing being on that album.
Download pain, write a thesis, perform for millions, Brazilian visas, got transcontinental indigenous divas that speak multiple languages for unspeakable reasons. And still there are places that I've never been, like the Statue of Liberty, my knees will never bend. Except for when I'm speaking to God, it feels like halftime, I'ma reach for the stars, I'm still standing.
Really reached a lot of charts overseas, South Africa, places that were pulling me in to do festivals. And we were just like, wow, we'll take a look at that. And so again, I take a while to do records. It was kind of like, let's take advantage of War doing so well on a basis and try to follow it up, and we know my process is my process, but I really wanted to come with close the gap on how long it takes me to make albums. And so I was like, yeah, let's follow this up with what happens after War. Obviously, I was aware of slave disorder and all these types of disorders. But since the album was before it was called War, I wanted to go with the theme of the veteran. You know what I'm saying? And it's still metaphoric in that sense of a veteran of what? But those are the main themes with me coming with PTSD to follow that album right away. And I felt that's a dope follow-up for War. But if you're going to talk about PTSD, if it needs to come from you, from an artist whose people are used to hearing rhyme about inanimate objects, bullets coming to life, and unborn kids, and all these metaphors, I wanted to dump a little bit more of Troy Jameson into this album and that perspective of how I could liken my vulnerabilities in terms of the battle I went with depression and all of these dark thoughts that come with that in society and how that can wane on you. I wanted to, add a dash of that into this PTSD album to help people like get an insight into who Pharoahe Monch is, Troy Jameson perspective.
100% that was accomplished. And I loved what you said when you said veteran of what? Because that question right there opens up a whole Pandora's box. War, the system, America, whatever it is, like obviously many things. And I think that you geniusly wove that in. And we're going to look at a little bit of that, how you wove together kind of that character along with your personal story. So we start off with Time 2. And that opening bar is,
we fight demons from our past only to face new monsters.
I mean, what a way to start the album. I love this bar because it sets the tone of the war veteran coming home, like expecting that warm welcome possibly, only to find that it's even harder upon return. And to me, I'm wondering if this is already a double kind of on you coming off of the War album and all of its success, because that was something from the past. And now you're like trying to put this new project out and like, is this a new monster as well?
Mm-hmm. Right. I was hoping with the style of writing and my delivery on this record to have such a simple line where you stopped it at, demons from our past only to face new monsters. As simple as the line is, I was hoping it could reach people on 3 different layers. The veteran, like you said, and logically, as we deal with recovering from whether it's war trauma or industry trauma, lawsuits, substance, whatever the case, as you persevere through those battles, it's not always a road to glory and freedom. Well, there are new ones that come, but the old ones prepared you for the new ones. And so I hope that all of that was being felt in just that half a bar right there, which is why some of the lines have a lot of spacing and they're not as many syllables.
Yeah.
In a lot of the songs, I was kind of like tossing out phrases. Hopefully they stick to your ribs like, wow, that's a dope line. If I can pull you in to the style that I was writing in on PTSD is very unique to making people feel these emotions, so to speak. Yeah.
That's what we want to do. And that's why we're doing it, so people understand the intention of your writing. Like I know in Broken Again, you had a lot of space in there, right? You left a lot, like you left us to feel in that. We'll get to that song. We'll get to that. So to finish the first quatrain, he comes with,
or we comatose or unconscious. My top spins perpetual. Deep, make the connection. You sleep cause reality bites. Inception.
So, what a first quatrain to start off. Obviously, we already talked about the first line, and then here we've got the Inception, the nod to Inception, Reality Bites, another movie. My top spins, we've got doubles, and I think most importantly is the line here: "Are we comatose or unconscious?" Which is, of course, a reference to what's happening in Inception, but also what's going to happen throughout the rest of this album. Never really sure what's reality and what's not, right?
Hmm. Yeah, it speaks to the struggle that I think we're going to have in the future with AI and our computers and us as humans becoming more cyborg. Is we keep these things attached to us, and the virtual world being, sold to us every day. Uh, you sleep because reality bites is it's a hip hop bar. You're sleeping on me, but it's also you choose to go into the virtual world
Hmm.
where you're virtually comatose or sleep to partake in the virtual world because reality sucks so bad. That's why we're doing what we're doing in essence. And so you miss, you know, everything that's real, including Pharoahe Monch, if that's a brag bar, but it's not, but it could be looked at one
Yeah.
like that.
Well, I love that you kind of pick and chose your spots for the brag bars on this album. um, a little less than usual because of the story. And but I think that's what makes it so genius. As you might remember, we broke this down at Pendulum Inc. for 3 weeks in my rhymecology class, and it was everyone's favorite class of the year. Mind you,
Mm,
it's their favorite class, so they always love it. But this was the best class of the year because we got so deep into it. We're not going to go as deep into all the songs, but time was pretty important for me. So just writing wise, it was just crazy when he said,
Where streets paved and gold often fade. When the paint they use to pave the streets is henna. And greener is the grass on the other side. Except for when that other side is Jenna. A sewer. You smile.
okay. So I've never really seen this technique done where a word is split and then the second syllable of the word is put
mm,
in front, and then
mm,
the way that it makes sense with the story uh,
mm,
is absolutely incredible because the guy's coming back from a possible war where genocide was, only to face suicide. To It just blew my mind that the way
mm,
that you did that, because literally when you said the greener is the grass on the other side, that is like wordplay right there because you're already
mm.
seeing how you're going to split the
Right,
word and put the syllable on the other side.
right. So I set that up purposely. Green is the grass on the other side, except for when that other side is Jenna or sewer. You know, when you're writing, you're looking at it paper. You're like, yeah, you again technique. You would have to give it some space, wrap it off rapidly. Obviously, it would just be like, what? And maybe somebody would get the shit 10 years later. But I just thought the way that I was placing the side piece right there, it was really easy to get, in my opinion. I felt like I was like squeezing it down for something that's simple to get, yet discuss later, which is where I was at because I was watching a lot of films and I was like, oh man, I want to call the homie up or call the people up and have a discussion about this film with them. I was like, let's try to make some of these songs like about time too. Let's have a discussion about it. What does it mean to you? And so that was the intention. Yeah.
Hmm. It create beautiful intent. Um, And then and then we go into I'll just read this part. You might not even have to
Mm,
respond on it because you said you smile while you're sipping a cup of Kahlua. It makes me want to mainline a fucking fifth of Doers. So it's crazy because you're talking about the other side already, and then
mm,
someone sipping a little cup of Kahlua. Like there's really two different types of people. Like the characters looking at this guy sipping on this casual beach week drink, and his energy is so different. It just makes me want to mainline a fucking fifth, right?
mm,
Crazy alliteration with sipping, smile, and then mainline and making and fucking fifth. A lot of little alliteration in there
mm.
as well. Like, but like the energy behind it was crazy.
You smile while you sipping a cup of Kahlua. That makes me want a mainline a fucking fifth of Doers.
Which leads to the glitch. I'm trying to utilize my time to shine here. I realize we only have limited time here. Dudes on my line trying to sell me a timeshare. It's going to be me losing my mind in Time Square. So Chilla Jones, of course, master of glitching at Pendulum Inc. But the way that this whole thing comes together as an introduction song um, was just fantastic, and all those different techniques put in there shows the mastery of your pen.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Losing my mind. So we go from that to losing my mind. Clock without a minute hand, kind of again lost in space and time, right? So again, you're going from one song to another, which is something you do a lot of. There's like what I call a safety pin between the last song and the new one, right? So you time and now you're lost in time, right? And which also kind of brings back Inception, right? Because you're kind of lost in space and time. And then this bar, no Medicaid, no medication, thinking you're better off dead instead, should have been more dedicated to education. Again, hitting us in the beginning, starting us off with just like, let me lay it out for you incredibly lyrically, but more, this is like the emotional part here, right?
No Medicaid, no medication. Thinking you're better off dead instead. Should have been dedicated to education. I spent selling on my revolver.
Can you tell us how you went from that song to Losing My Mind, especially with that kind of first bar?
Um, I wanted to go from the manic episode that dude has at the end of Time 2 or Time Squared, uh, and go into the backstory of and with me. And that's those lines are a direct result of being a chronic asthmatic and struggling with uh, medication and bills and prescriptions and looking to find the right system. At one time, you know, I was just the cost of health insurance was just insane, the way the system was. And I was coming pain out of the ass for my medication that was astronomically fucking overpriced. And so that line, I'm like, oh, you wouldn't be struggling with your medication
Hmm.
if you went to fucking Yale and Harvard and got the better job and had the better
Hmm.
healthcare or whatever. So that's what that line is about. The frustration, um, it wasn't speaking in the moment, it was speaking to the frustration that I had with the pharmaceutical, aspect of being an asthmatic and being ill in this country.
Right. And and that I even forgot to mention the fact that you did a literal glitch. So we call glitching when you're repeating a focal point in different meanings with like you did with time, but your
Mm.
voice was literally glitching.
Last year they hired me, and this week they fired me, and Nike got all these bills to pay, and what the fuck am I supposed to say?
I think you were probably wanting to show us that there's a psychotic episode literally happening
Hmm.
on the track. Just
Hmm.
Just
Mhm.
fantastic, just genius. And so that leads into this where you're a little more subdued than you were in Times Squared, right? You're a little more subdued, like man,
Mhm.
I wish I got a better education, right? And then I even felt a little sense of maybe regret for the first time when you were like,
Now someone explain who'd leave a dick in charge of a bush, recalling I'm screwed. Saw more war than Warsaw, Poland.
but also it feels like emotionally, feels like little regret is starting to come out. Like, why was I put in here? Why did they put me over there?
Yeah, I think regret is a big part of depression. So I wanted to get right into those fields. Why losing my mind is the tempo that it is, and the chords that it is, and um, a clock without a minute hand. Process of when you are feeling like that is just so slow. They go by, they creep by. Look at the clock, and you're like, wow, only 5 minutes has passed, but I'm feeling so bad. It's like the saying, time moves differently for someone that's in a fire than it does from someone that's on vacation.
Hmm.
And so when you're feeling bad, things are moving really slow. So from the tempo of the song to the notation of the song, and to me really feeling like Mr. Porter could really gut out those vocals.
A clock without a minute hand, an hourglass without sand, suspended within space and time. I walk a thin line, amongst the masses, all alone. A furnished house with no one home. I see through walls that's hard to climb. I'm losing my mind. I'm losing my mind.
uh to help feel the regret, and that's a perfect word. I'm trying to exude regret on that song, and also, like, again, like, I want people to feel like, why am I going through this? Why am I in this situation? All these questions of why, and contemplating when you're in those moments. I wanted the audience to feel what making bad choices feels like when you contemplate it, that contemplation,
the I mean, it was definitely came across like that. And then when you said viewed the infant's insides, outside of his body, lights flash. If only I could put the past on a flash drive for more peace of mind. I'd install an external drive so I'd be more driven internally to survive. So you are have the regrets are coming through. Like, I wish I could have been more driven. The incredible
hmm
wordplay with, of course, driven, and then an external drive, and then it's just a lot going on there. And
hmm
also the how you're flipping inside and outside, as well as external and internal, like,
hmm hmm
there's just
yeah,
levels.
yeah,
That
yeah,
was
yeah.
intense. Again, duality, like we talked about the other side in the last track, the other side, and then the two different people, the Kahlua person and the
hmm
second fifth person. And again,
hmm
there's a lot of duality in here as
Right.
an
And that,
inception. Really crazy.
yeah. And that's what you seek to do. I think is a writer. Personally, as a writer, I just want something that you can listen to for a second time and could stick to your ribs. If I'm able to pull you in to my story, my film, as the audience, gotta buy into the protagonist and the antagonist as a villain. You gotta buy into what I'm selling. And it's only a certain amount of ways, you believe the artist so much. DMX, you got me. Like, whatever you say, your word is bond.
Fuck.
Or you set up a story so well, you set up the truth so well that it's felt. And with the first two songs, I time is something I wanted to play with because as I remembered my struggles with depression, time was huge.
Wow.
Like how the day went, how the week went, and how things moved, what I was listening to, what I was watching, and also like I was explaining in interviews and to you guys before, like it was a chemical imbalance with medication
Zoloft and
and
acidophilus.
Is this illusion optic? Perhaps it's just a chemical reaction with my Zoloft and acidophilus.
I got an ear, baby. I got an ear here.
and cocktails, different
Yeah.
cocktails of medication, and when you can't put your finger on something that's like what the hell is going on right now, like whatever it is, it throws you out for quite some time. So beginning of the album, I wanted to revisit kind of what it feels like when you talk about the on the inside, on the outside. That I was hoping that line would be impactful to somebody just visualizing, seeing a child with their intestines
Mhm.
exposed. I was trying to be brutal in that visual at the same time doing the duality of inside on the outside and internal and external.
An infant's insides, outside of his body, inside of a place of worship, ungodly.
And all these different things,
Well,
like you said. Yeah.
we caught it. I mean, we caught it.
Mhm.
I could send you the video of our class break if you wanted to. We sit there for an
Mhm.
hour and a half or 2 hours talking about your rhymes and people, the different things that hit different people. It might be
Mhm.
interesting to you. Like, for example, a line that really hit them was when you said
My family customs were not accustomed to dealing with mental health. It was more or less an issue for white families with wealth.
so that's a little more straightforward, right?
Mhm.
But that's a line that connected with a lot of our students. And as someone who worked for 15 years, me in Compton and Long Beach, going into families' homes, knocking on the
Mhm.
door, hey, mental health counselors here,
Mhm.
in those areas. That line really connected with me because I've been on the other side trying to help.
Yeah. Just off the rip, you got black parents who both work hard, from my age group, both held it down, and they obviously going to work when they don't feel like going to work, or they have ailments, or there is no don't feel like it for the parent who moved from the South to New York City to build a life for their family. It's just grind, grind, grind. And that in itself is kind of difficult as the child of that ideology to be like, there's something going on inside my head
Mhm.
right now. When you watched your father, like, drag it to work in the morning in 7 feet of snow, not feeling his best with ailments. You know what I mean? It's like,
Almost
how
like
do I?
you don't deserve to feel, you don't deserve to go talk to someone when he went through that. It's like, who am I to
Right.
have a problem?
Yeah. It just, and we don't give, a lot of times kids don't give their parents credit. Knows what the thinking is. I can't go to my pops and be like, I'm not feeling my best emotionally. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? You
Yeah.
know, at least that's what you think the
Yeah.
outcome would be. Yeah.
So, um, as we go from that to we go from broken. Okay, so we kind of are jumping over to damage here. I'm not gonna actually go into damage too much. Obviously, we have a nod to LL. You mentioned all three of the Bullet songs. Fuck a stray bullet. I take aim when the gun draws. My favorite quatrain here. They cock the hammers, wave the llamas. You know, you go crazy with that, man, but that's
They cocked them hammers, waved them llamas, but that's that in front of the camera drama. When them cameras are attached to dollies, I call them dolly llamas.
like you got to know what a dolly is. I live in Hollywood, so I definitely know. And but, you know, like that was pretty insane. That was my favorite quatrain on there. So I just have one question on this song because I'm not going to go deep into it. Um, Conceptually, after losing my mind, is this character kind of now seeing himself as a bullet? Yeah.
Absolutely. That's why it's placed there. It's like intentionally write it in that order, get the scenes recorded, and you're editing the film. You're like, oh yeah, damage goes perfect right here because of that reason. Like, you know, there's no absolute technical reason that the song is right there, like you're saying. It has a lot to do with me imagining, you know, going into the stray bullet and the gun drawer shit, and just it being a perfect spot
Mhm.
to discuss those topics from that perspective after what the character or I just went through in the first two songs. So yeah, you know. But
I
the
think it
truth of the
accomplished that.
matter is, yeah,
I think it accomplished that.
exactly.
And then especially because when you go into bad MFer, it's kind of like a nod to Shaft, right? And so that's like
Right.
feel like the bullet, like he's going from being the bullet to being, you know, you're being Shaft in a way, right? Like so.
Hmm.
I do have one kind of nerd out question that I've been wanting to ask that I brought up that came to my mind, and I'm not sure if it is this crazy or not. But when you said, "Then I will ring your bell like Avon," is this a triple? Is this a triple with ring your bell, Avon at your door, and then
Hmm.
Avon Barksdale snuffing out Stringer Bell?
No,
Ah!
no, 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 no. I don't think I can't take credit for that.
All right.
I was strictly thinking about the Avon lady.
But the way, I mean, you got Bell and Avon
Yeah,
within
I know, I know.
two
I'm trying
words.
to think if I'm trying to think if I did that.
I do sometimes take it to the next extreme, and I brought that up to the class, and they were like, "What?" But in future reference, if you want to take credit for it now, you can say, and
Mhm.
also Avon snuffed out Stringer Bell. Like you could also throw that in there. So that, you know. All right, so we jumped through those really quick. Now we're gonna get to REM. Right before this, you're coming out of the recollection facility, which I would love to hear a little bit about. And you have just been told, or the character has been told that you're not awake, which again, comatose or unconscious, inception, are you awake? Which level of the dream is it? All still coming together. You're not Shaft, you're not the bullet, right? So with that being said, before we get into the bars, just I was curious kind of about that recollection facility and like where we're at now story wise. I just want to hear a little bit about that.
When I wrote this, I was like, you know, with sci-fi, imagine if you could go to a facility and have, you know, when you were bullied, distracted, uh, you got turned down. You asked a girl to prom, she turned you down. Let's take that. Let's erase that memory.
Mhm.
Let's do that. And so that, you know, the recollection facility, that's what that's about. It's about a place where you could go and just simply have those bad memories extracted. And obviously, there's the I'm thinking about the Arnold Schwarzenegger film,
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. Yep.
right? And
Total recall.
Total Recall. And now, you know, I just was, you know, reading where Elon has an implant, and eventually the implant is supposed to be able to technically do exactly that. Yeah, yeah.
Also, it's kind of like those movies like Mr. 3000 or whatever, where the kid struck out and his whole life was shitty.
Mhm.
Then he went back and he was able to hit the home run and his whole life was better.
Right. So
Uh,
so the twist to the recollection facility is that, man, let's I was like, let's throw this character even in an even more fucked up situation. He thinks what he's experiencing and remembering these stories that when he was in Times Square and uh he was losing his mind,
yeah,
you know, the recollection facility is reminding him, you know, we just want you to know, sleep facility right now, we are trying to extract these memories from you or these thoughts from you, but it's kind of like the whole scenario with those skits are probing your mind. We did find out you're a rebel and you're a renegade and you're in danger of breaking all these legal rules set off in the time happening. And so you're a threat to society, you're a threat to our government as it's being run right now in this situation,
that's the
which is,
bad MF.
yeah.
That's why.
Mm,
Okay,
mm,
so they're seeing him. They're seeing those thoughts, the shaft type of lifestyle inside of his
mm,
mind. Very,
mm,
very cool. Let me just mention my favorite rhyming part, just straight up rhyming. We got
mm,
a six syllable count here with grab Mace by the thigh, slapped a rapper with them. That's practicing sacrilegious activism, attack for rebuttal, and practical rap with wisdom. Actually, it's pragmatic capitalism for actors that crack under pressure and collapse when I get them. Back to six.
Mace by the thigh and slap the rapper with him. Now that's practicing sacrilegious activism, or tactics for battle and practical rap with wisdom. Actually, it's pragmatic capitalism for actors who crack under pressure and collapse when I get them.
mm,
Just like to have a six-syllable count, with the 7 or 8 internal assonant sounds. You had like every you had the that, the attack, the bat, the da 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 in there mixed in amongst the six-syllable count at the end, while you're also literally swinging Mace by the thigh and then and, and then referencing sacrilegious because of his little pastor career. Like that's a quatrain that was crazy. Uh, so appreciated that. And what I just found today was I was actually when you said Monch is the medicinal man made of medical marijuana with the phase plasma rifle, like I'm searching for Sarah Connor. Shorty's got brains, Shorty not playing. Like some people might not even realize when you said plasma rifle, plasma is a major ingredient in the brain. Like plasma is
mhm, mhm,
that's why you reference plasma rifle and then Shorty's got brains.
mhm.
And then my question is, when you said Shorty not playing, the way you announced playing, was that a reference to Fantasy Island when because you were like Shorty not playing?
No, that's just straight. Again, Arnold Schwarzenegger when he's playing a Terminator,
Yeah,
and it blew my mind because things of time nature blow my mind.
me
He
too.
goes into the gun store in his famous scene, and he's looking for weapons to go hunt Sarah Connor. And he goes into the gun store, and he's like, "What is this?" And the guy's like, "Oh, this is a Colt 45, blah 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 blah." And what is this? Oh, this is an AK-47. He's like, "I'll take that, and I'll take that." And the guy's like, "Are you interested in this?" And then Arnold Schwarzenegger says, "I'll take the phase plasma rifle with the 40-watt range." And the gun seller is like, "What the fuck are you talking about, bro? Like, only what you see, only what you see here."
Right.
And it just had me in the theater, like, what the fuck is a phased plasma rifle with
Right.
40-watt range, which is why I referenced the
Right.
range of the weapon in the rest of the rhyme. Yeah.
Monch is medicinal, man-made, medical marijuana with a phase plasma rifle like I'm searching for Sarah Connor. And Shorty's got brains. Shorty not playing. From 40 blocks, I'm a killer with 40-watt range.
Right. Now I get it.
Mhm.
I'm just going to mention my favorite punch line, probably on the album. This great quatrain. When you said vocally twice as magnifying as ever hearing Chewbacca stream through a megaphone with the significance of Dr. King, philanthropic, because I'm trying to see Man United without referencing UK soccer teams. That is, to me, I just love that like the scheme,
Mhm.
but then just the wordplay, the Man United. People don't do soccer references much, which you did the messy one also on here, but
Mhm.
just saying, probably my favorite little punchline.
Yeah, I
Um,
wanted to go to soccer specifically because I know most cats don't do, you know, international
that's why
football
it hits harder, though,
bars.
right?
Yeah,
That's why it hits harder.
exactly. Exactly.
Fine as ever hearing Chewbacca scream through a megaphone with the significance of Dr. King. Philanthropic. Cause I'm trying to see Man United without referencing UK soccer teams.
So how? One more question on this song. How did you kind of like break this down to Black Thought? Because it's such a conceptual album and this song is important to it. I mean, this is, this is where you really barred out, but you still were in your theme here. How did you kind of reference it to him? Did you give him the concept? Did you say, hey, kind of play this role? Um, did he hear your verse first? Did you hear, like, how did that kind of work?
Yeah, no, I just hit him up and I just felt like, you have certain songs and you're like, I really want only one artist for this song. I want you to bar out and I want you to crush it and take it to the next level. But I want you to use uh my last word and then come off that last word and keep going.
Safety
But
pin.
I mhm,
You call it a
and
safety pin.
mhm, and I wanted to know that inside of my head, I'm like, oh, I know who I can reach out to while I'm sleeping, because rapid eye movement, REM, you know what I mean. I think I could call on somebody to understand what's happening here and somehow spit incredible bars enough to get me out of this situation or to
Well,
wake
it's
me up
like
from the
while you're
situation.
under. So you're saying like
Right,
while you were under, you like telepathically reached out, hey, Black Thought, come in here and like, get me out of the situation through your bar.
right, right.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Uh, I'm just gonna on a personal side note here, I did before I started like really looking into this album, man, like I looked at like some of like the YouTube reviews and some of the reviews and shit. And I was just like shocked that people were not really like these certain idiot reviewers weren't really capturing this concept like the way that we're talking about it. And
Hmm.
these a lot of them were like, "Oh, Black Thought was the shit on it." But I'll tell you, at Pendulum, all of our students were like, "No, Pharaoh got him." How we
Mm.
talk as fans. They were like, fair, like you can't really beat what Pharaoh did in that, even though Black Thought was absolutely incredible. The layers were insane. So
Thank you. Well, my thing is, like Fonte was saying once in an interview, it's like if you're gonna have somebody on a song like that, you're really hiring them to smash you. You're really hiring them to take the song to another level.
right,
Whatever,
that's
however
expected.
they, right, however they do it, layers, triples, doubles. I don't. It doesn't even matter. Vocal tone, energy. Just take it to the next level because that's you know, why you're being called, unless it's a nuance thing where it's like, oh, you know, I specifically want you to, I'm having you on this song to evoke this type of emotion. But for in a situation like calling Black Thought to do what Black Thought does,
Right.
I think he just destroyed it. Uh, and added to like, okay, this is, you know, my thing was, I know this is the conceptual album, but let me kind of give the audience some bars and some rapping in the midst of all of this to tide you over while you listen to all of these fucking
Yeah,
conceptual
that's
records.
what's that that's exactly what you did. I mean, and then he was touching on it too, you know, waive the doctor's fees, you know, all that stuff. Like
Mm,
he touched on it enough. So I
mm,
think it was absolutely perfect. And just as a memory, when I first heard that, it was kind of like Black Thought has always been, you know, top, top, top. But when he did that with you, and when he did the bird's eye view with Static, and he did like the book kind of like over 2.5 minute verses on each, it was like I feel like it was right around that time where like the evolution of Black Thought really even clicked into another gear. Like with
mm,
like it had just kind of I remember hearing this song and Bird's Eye View at the same time, and I was playing them at conferences. I'm like, yo, Black, you got to hear what Black Thought's doing now. So you know,
mm,
take more credit with that.
mm,
I want to talk about now my favorite song on the album. It's The Jungle. The Jungle to me is the most layered song in my humble opinion, because you're drawing a comparison between the jungle and the wild, the inner city jungle. Um, you're giving advice to a youngster, kind of suggesting, you know, go back to school, which then references, I wish I would have been put more time into education, referencing your own thoughts from earlier. And you know, study up on this instead of selling drugs. And then you was like, what you call was some felons, crime, and drug selling in the jungle. But what drugs exactly are you talking about? Because then when we come in the next verse,
I'm talking epileptic episodes off that epinephrine, that albuterol and the mother prescribed medicine.
so it's like
mhm,
layers, not only between the jungle, which was, if that was the only thing, it was amazing. But then how you're talking about drug selling and the horrible pharmaceutical industry, which we're under. It's literally, you know, well, I'm not even going to go there, but um, so that all the layers here and the overarching theme of like your character, which is more you, this is more you than kind of like the war veteran.
mm.
It is incredible. And I just like anything you want to say on that while you soak in that compliment would, and I have a little more on it too, but kind of start me off on the jungle a little bit.
Yeah, I think going back to what you said about reviewers, it's like same thing with film. Like if you miss the aspect and the whole gist, then you're definitely gonna miss the jungle. And you're gonna hear the jungle, and you're gonna be like, this is a nice beat, but why is he talking about EpiPens
Mm.
in the second verse? But if you miss the whole concept, you won't get where that all gels together. And I think it all gels together back in the double the project in terms of, yes, this is a young, inspiring drug dealer. I'm trying to speak out of doing that. But at the same time, like you said, there are all types of drugs in this jungle that we're at war with ourselves and that we fight against. And we don't want to necessarily be on medication in that sense, or we're taking it for a reason to medicate whatever ailment you have. And same thing with, you know, drugs in the street. And so, you know, I just felt like that was a real cool moment to go from, you know, such a I feel like a hardcore street aspect of the jungle. You know, you got to look out for the cheetahs. The cheetahs are the cops and this, and then they come back off of that and be like, I'm talking epileptic episodes, EpiPens, and all the shit that I go through and that I've been through and that I've tried, including weed. I mentioned, you know, my parents was like, fuck it, let's try anything.
My mom had me smoking weed from the Netherlands at age 13. Broke apart the scene. A lot of moist weed that was sticky and green.
I just thought that that was a nice stanza in that second verse right there as well, to hear something that people could relate to. But again, if you are like, I've never been sick in my life. I never had a common cold. I don't get colds. I don't get the flu. Then you're not even going to feel that. To whereas with allergies and ailments and whatever, when I was performing this song or after I did the PTSD tour run, they were so enamored that I touched on
Yes.
these things in that verse.
I mean, they must have. I mean, to me, so you, as you can tell, like I love nerding out on all the inside the weeds. But when you said,
I used to write about green eggs and ham till I found out the Food and Drug Administration was a scam. Now it's
like, that's as powerful a line as I have heard, especially with what's been happening in the last 4 years with the FDA and the CDC and things that they're making us do and all that. And it's kind of crazy because it's like you're kind of like presenting it like I used to write about like green eggs and ham. That's the Dr. Seuss. So it's kind of happier, simpler. Like, yeah, I could write about, Yvonne Rodriguez and all, stuff before. But now you're like, oh, I gotta touch on this now because I realize they're a freaking scam.
Right.
Um, and I like kind of like the white families with wealth line. This is kind of like just like hit you in the eyes, just hit you in the eyes and just like take this one in. And so in case people don't know that they're a scam or that the CDC is completely corrupted and that the leader of the CDC just changed over to go to the FDA and the FDA just changed over to go to the CDC, they literally are doing that. And so you like there's no accountability because they just are switching positions
Right.
and getting paid off of it all. Like if you don't know that shit, then you won't know how powerful that line is. So I guess like do you kind of have any like advice for people trying to fight off the billions of dollars of propaganda that both of these agencies are friggin' putting in front of our faces on social and TV and the newspapers? It's like you have to be really in tune not to buy into all of that. Like how do you avoid how can you learn to get away from that propaganda and at least listen to your own body?
Yeah, man, um, that might be the number one war if we're not entrenched in it at this very moment, is fighting for your own mental and emotional and spiritual space when you're being inundated with ads and marketed to.
But if this is appealing to you, just think of this when you think of vaccination. Vaccination.
And it's just nonstop. And you find yourself being like, wait a minute, like let me regain control over my own fucking day
You
in a
sleep,
virtual
reality bites.
right, in a virtual situation. If if we don't take back control over our days, and I just really feel like what you're saying about the Food and Drug Administration and the drugs, it all goes hand in hand. To you sit there, you lay there, you're sedentary, and now you need
Yeah.
something for your aching back. Now you need something for your aching knee because you're not moving and you're not out there enjoying life in reality the way we should and the way we used to. So
I mean, we just went
Yeah.
through before years ago. I didn't hear anyone saying you should get some sunshine, you should get some exercise. It was
Hmm.
like, stay inside, stay scared.
Like you said, it's blatant.
Blatant.
It's in our faces. They're literally saying the sentence because they know, we have short memories and not a lot of resistance. And so, that even goes back to the war. It was like, it's mad hardcore. Like it's hardcore to, shoot up the block, but it's also hardcore to face this situation and to go out here and warn people about it. It's just as hardcore now because you could be,
That's the new war. That's the new
yeah,
war.
yeah.
Yeah. I just want to talk about, we're almost done. I just want to talk about Broken Again. Um, because one of the themes that we haven't talked too much about was the heroin kind of addiction that the character was going through. And so in Broken Again, he's kind of itching, literally itching for it.
On the floor going through withdrawals, I was itching. She rescued me, my heroin to the end. But then she morphed into heroin in a syringe.
And so what I said was, while it seems like the premise of this song is giving into his addiction, there's so much more. You said, squeeze 7 cc's so I could see the 7 C's and CC all my friends so they could see what I was seeing. But what they saw was a despicable human being. So I guess they just wasn't seeing what I was seeing. The craziest thing about this quatrain is that you start off by saying 7 cc's. And then if you really read this quatrain right here, you'll see literally set the word C 7 times.
Mhm.
Like insane. Like it wasn't 6, it wasn't 8. You said 7 cc's, and then between the letter C and then what I was seeing and the 7 C's, and you literally said it 7 times.
Mhm.
So that was done on purpose.
Mhm.
that
Absolutely.
is.
Squeeze 7 cc's so I can see the 7 C's. And CC all my friends so they can see what I was seeing. But what they saw was a despicable human being. So I guess they just wasn't seeing what I was seeing.
It's a broken heart story. That song is kind of a follow-up to a song I had called Broken Heart, which is broken again, which who would have thought this shit would happen to me again? So
Oh,
it's really a broken relationship story, and heroin is the girl and heroin is the addiction. But I wanted to do my research to have this song feel like heroin.
yeah.
You know,
Again, it's a double. I know
yeah.
you said the heroin. She rescued me, my heroin, till the end. So I get the heroin with the E is,
Mm,
I get it, all that.
mm, mm.
But like in this for the story, it really still plays solid. And I have to mention now, this is probably the dopest couplet on the entire thing here for me. Is this.
Convert 2 into 1, an invisible plan to discover what dreams may come for this invisible man.
First of all, 2 into 1. We'll get into that. But Discover What Dreams May Come is a reference to a Robin Williams movie called What Dreams May Come, where the main character's wife commits suicide, and essentially the two of them become one. So while Robin Williams is trying to find his wife in the afterlife, she can't see him at first, making him feel like an invisible man, which is in the bar too. And then to top it off, What Dreams May Come was really popularized by Shakespeare's Hamlet, who was contemplating suicide. And then to top it off, there's another nod to Ralph Emerson's 1952 novel, where the character is being ostracized in society, having mental health issues, and all of that. So within those two, like there's so many references in that couple of lines. To me, it's the greatest quatrain in here just because of the references, all coming back to the same thing: suicide, referencing books, movies, 2 into 1. Tell me, I mean, how do you feel to be have such a fucking sharp pen to write something like that?
I did my research. that whole piece right there is actually a bunch of books and a bunch of films. The one I watched, I was like, I need to rewatch this Robin Williams movie if I'm gonna use this line,
Mm.
and I just was blown away at, at the parallels of his wife in the film and what I was writing about. So I was like, woo! After rewatching the film, I was like, this makes incredible sense.
So
Yeah.
that was how it ended. Um, and kind of like that Kiss the Sky, Jimi Hendrix reference, but also like, can I think you're kind of saying, can I be happy kissing the sky without the
Drugs.
substance, right?
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
without her. Is that also part of it? Without her? Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow. That is fantastic. Um, where that's it for the major stuff. I just wanted to ask if you have if you could just tell me anything about the PTSD song, because in this song you're on the character's kind of on the verge of suicide, conversing with death.
Seen death twice, it's ugly motherfucker, man. But you conversate with it when you suffer, man. Let go of the pain, you'll never rock the mic again. Your choice, slug to the brain of 20 Vicodin. I kinda likened it to ortho tricycling, disturbing the natural cycles of life and it's trifling.
So in this song, he's faced with a choice. He's got 10 toes on the ledge. I don't even know if there was a Know the Ledge reference to Rakim there, but maybe that. But so you're kind of on the verge of that, but then there's a decision that's made, and then like the next song is like upbeat and happy, of course. So this will be the last song. Just wanted to get a little taste on PTSD and how it moved the story forward, or maybe how something that happened in your life, maybe you were you were on that edge and then came through. Like, tell me a little bit about that PTSD.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about death in terms of like being so sick and passing out and seeing that light and waking up and doctors being on top of you like, "Yoo, here he is. All right." And you're like, what the fuck just happened? And that happening more than once is the bar about seen death twice, ugly motherfucker, man. But he conversates with you when you're suffering. And when you're in depression, that's kind of I feel like that would be the back and forth of the darkness. That's the inner dialogue in your head. And I just feel like those bars were hardcore to me. To me, if I'm the listener, hear the artist say some shit like that, I'm just like, whoa. Uh, that's a different kind of thing than the gun talk shit, and a different type of strength as well, trying to persevere and survive through that. Similar, but it's different. And I thought it was also hardcore to put those bars out there, about having seen death and being in that position,
That
which
happened
is real.
when you were young.
Yeah, when I was writing the bars, I was like, I wonder if people, because on some rapidy raps, I wonder are people going to receive this as a reality and not just me barring, but like, having experienced that, it reshapes the way you look at things afterwards. So,
All right. So what you just said, like everything we just talked about has been so important because you, the listener, the viewer, you now kind of have a better understanding of the macro of this. And we get into the micro, into the weeds with the writing. But if you're just putting on a song and you're just like wanting to hear the artist's hottest song or most viewed song, then this isn't for you. This is the one that you go through song by song. This is the one that you listen to this interview and then you go back and you play, oh, that's what he meant by that. And that's where the genius of writing, that's where the genius of Pharoahe Monch and the genius of PTSD all come together. My name is Jeff Walker. This has been a Rhymecology bar breakdown. And any last words from the microphone master, Pharoahe Monch?
Man, I appreciate the love. I appreciate the deep examination of this piece. Worked really hard on it, and it's really dope to see it being talked about and discussed 10 years later. I think all lyricists who are into their writing, that's what they hope for, and that's, it's not just a bar in the moment or a song in the moment. We're hoping that it sticks to your ribs and that it has a long shelf life, and that even when we're not here anymore, as I may speak for myself, this stuff remains to move people and inspire people in a certain way, and that's the goal of writing this way, is to have it last.